Hi, my name is Lauren Graham.
My name is Joshua Graham, and we are both life strategists, and we are the co-owners of Heart Strategy Co. We are also husband and wife, and welcome to a little tea time today where we have a discussion on a topic and we see where it takes us. And today we are talking about self-expression.
Yes, we sure are.
So, do you have some thoughts on self-expression and why it's an important thing for everyone to have?
Well, so self-expression, I guess, if we think about what it is first, it's basically the means by which we explore and discover who we are. So it's kind of us showing the world or showing ourselves even who we are by what we like to do, by how we want to participate in the world, and it can take on a lot of different forms depending on what you like.
Yeah, I would say that self-expression isn't only expressing who you are, it can also be a form of discovering who you are. So you not only, you can figure out who you are through expressing yourself, right? So if you express yourself in the moment and you realize, you have that experience and you have that experience like, oh, I don't enjoy that, then you can figure out that, hey, this isn't actually who I want to be. This isn't a part of myself I want to take forward anymore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you can also be living your life without actually ever expressing who you are too. I think that it is very possible for people to get stuck into a framework of doing similar things day in, day out, spending time with the people around them in a way that's almost expected of you. And when you do that, I think you can actually start to lose yourself and realize that you haven't actually been expressing or exploring who you are, and that you've been kind of repeating a pattern that you've gotten stuck into, which is why I think actively having self-expression in your life, or self-exploration even, is such a vital part of our growth and such a vital part of making sure that we're allowing ourselves to exist like authentically in the world.
Interesting. So how would you say for someone who might not, or how would someone know whether they're expressing themselves authentically or not?
Well, they could kind of check in with whether or not they even feel satisfied with who they are in their life. I mean, I know for me, if we take me back maybe 7 years now, I had a huge wake-up call where all of a sudden I looked around and I was like, ugh, my life. Like, how did I end up here? It was kind of like waking up one day and realizing I didn't like what I was doing most of the days. I wasn't even really connecting with friends that much anymore. I had been in a really long-term relationship where I was the person I had always been, and I realized that that person didn't fit or suit me anymore, and I really had no idea what I liked. I kind of even almost disliked who I had become in a sense. I was still a kind person and good to my friends, my family for the most part, not even as much as I would like to be there, but it had kind of become an act. I was who people thought I should be, not who I wanted to be. And at that point I realized that I didn't even know how to discover who I was.
So what helped you discover who you were?
Taking one big uncomfortable step away from what I did every single day and starting to do new things. And this is actually where what you said earlier comes into play, because it would mean trying new things and discovering, oh, no, never mind, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was okay too. And then as I started to discover what I liked, it started to tell me a little bit more about what kind of person I was, and that could help kind of gear my discovery a little bit more. For example, I started to realize that I liked, or I was interested in, the idea of meditation, which led me to different things that I could read that I liked, which led me to even trying yoga, which led me to more in-depth contemplative practices of trying to figure out who I am, what I believed in, and where I wanted to go. And so it can be a little bit of a path, path and trail became one there.
A peeler.
a little bit of a trail of like breadcrumbs, I started to follow what I began to like. But the key is that I also asked myself, what type of person do I want to be? So it was trying out different things that would lead to a type of person that I could feel good about or that I could be proud of. A person who I believed would be kind and good in the world, and a person who would have the capacity to actually discover happiness.
So what you brought up there is very interesting, because I think it brings up something that we should talk about, which is, who we truly are. Is there a portion of ourselves that is, fixed, and is there maybe a portion of ourselves that is fluid, that's always changing and adapting to what's around us? But, as you said, as you went through things, that part of you that's more fluid figured out, I like yoga, I like meditation, I like all these things by trying new things. But then you also talked about how maybe there's a portion of you who, is the same, the person who is kind and generous and all of those things. So it's interesting how, within us and each of us, we're not necessarily always the same person every day, but maybe there is a portion of us that we do take forward.
Yeah, I think there definitely can be a portion of us that we do take forward, but at the same time, and that can be more so like what we take forward a lot of times, I think, is our values, like what we care about, what we deem to be important in the world. But I think that if we get attached too deeply to an idea of who we are, then we could limit discovery of our actual potential, because who I am today is a person that I would never have recognized at that period in time. So if I had have tried to carry too much of me forward, I would have squashed my ability to become someone new. But I think a really interesting thing there is that as you try these new things, you need to ask whether they really fit you or whether you're just trying to emulate someone else too.
That's interesting. But I also think that sometimes you don't know, first off, right? Like first time you do something can be a little uncomfortable. You're not too sure whether you like it or not. And then you do a little bit more of it and you figure out, hey, this is actually for me. Like for myself, I've in the past tried to play a couple different instruments without success. And now I found that I really enjoy playing piano as a form of self-expression. And I'm terrible. I'm not good at it.
He's getting good, though.
I'm getting better.
He's getting
but
better
if I had to hang my hat on the first time I did it, which is, banging a couple keys and having it sound like crap, then I wouldn't be, interested in it being a form of self-expression for me.
So then the interesting thing there is what is it about it that you feel it helps you express, or how do you get past that feeling of wanting to be good and still allowing yourself to do it even if you're not necessarily there yet? How do you use that tool effectively in your life? How does piano make you feel like you're expressing yourself?
I don't think it's something that can be explained. I don't think you can explain that, right? If you find something that truly expresses yourself, I don't know if there are true words for it. There's just a sense of connection and a sense of being with it.
Are there underlying feelings that you think?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, I guess the underlying feelings would be underlying feeling of, peace, underlying feeling of joy, of just overall enjoyment, of some curiosity, of almost like a lightness to it. So yeah, I guess I have a hard time putting words to exactly what I'm experiencing, but the feelings in terms of what I'm feeling are relatively consistent with the things I enjoy most, helping me express myself. So
do you feel like in moments of true self-expression, you also appreciate yourself at a deeper level?
Well, that's something I've never really consciously thought of.
Well, if you consciously think of it now, what is it?
I don't think that I am consciously more appreciative of myself, but I am just more in tune with myself.
So is acceptance a better word over appreciative?
I'm more, I guess, just once again back to the peace. I'm more at peace. Yeah. There's not turmoil going inside myself. There's not questioning. It's just being. There's no overanalyzing. It's just being present and being in the activity. And sometimes, the mind can wander, but overall, there is a sense of presence while doing the form of self-expression.
Yeah, just a feeling of this is who I am and I'm here with myself right now.
Exactly, not running away from yourself. Creating a deeper connection with yourself. It's basically self-expression at its core, is it not?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I personally have found that exploring activities that help me express myself do actually end up helping to appreciate me, help me appreciate myself more. Because, for example, if I look at exercise overall as something that used to never be a part of my form of self-expression and now deeply helps me connect with myself, I feel like while I'm expressing myself, I'm almost discovering new depths of who I am, because even if I'm expressing myself in a way that I've expressed myself before, to continue that practice takes me deeper and deeper into that aspect of myself. So I find I do actually appreciate myself at a deeper level, and I become more comfortable with myself when I allow myself to actually express who I truly feel I am. And I think it takes a long time. There's a difference, I think, between personal self-expression and being able to publicly self-express yourself too, because I think it can be very hard to vulnerably show yourself. And the more time we personally get comfortable being around ourselves and expressing ourselves, the more that I think we're able to also step into who we are for the world as well, not just individually.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that self-expression is a form of vulnerability, because we're letting our true light shine out of us without, having to feel like we need to pretend to be someone else or hide or, have to put up these walls. We're allowing the true us to shine through.
Yeah, and I think without that, sometimes it becomes very easy to play small, or once again, like I said for myself, play into other people's images of who I'm supposed to be. Like I'm trying to live up to what they want instead of expressing what I want. And because self-expression has helped me get connected with like my heart and my center, and because as a personal value of mine that I've taken forward is like living through kindness and love, then as I express myself further and as I get more comfortable with myself, I can also become more comfortable knowing that I'm going to always hold true to those values, so I don't have to be afraid of showing myself to other people.
Interesting.
So as I get to know myself more.
Yeah. So it's like using, self-expression tools, let's say in private, like, once again, example is like meditation, yoga, that helps you connect with yourself on a deeper level, which then makes you more confident in yourself, which then makes you more confident in your ability to express yourself to other people.
Absolutely.
Which then allows you to have deeper connections with them, less resistance, because, regardless of what their reactions are to you or whatever you said, that you are expressing yourself, you are being true to who you truly are, because you've done the work to figure out who that actually is. You don't have the walls up anymore. The walls are gone. You're being vulnerable. You're being open with the people in your life. And that allows you to actually, enjoy the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it allows me to become less self-conscious, thinking, what are they thinking? Because instead, I know more so what I'm thinking about me. I actually have a feeling of who I am, so I rely less heavily on other people.
Not thinking about yourself. You're just not like overanalyzing and criticizing yourself. Would that be a better way to put it?
Yeah, I'm actually able to
be there.
Chime in, be there. Yeah, be present.
Yeah.
I'm more present because of my self-expression practices. And it's in times of my life where I've shut off periods of personal self-expression that I fall into repetitive patterns of who I think I need to be. And I end up with this like underlying longing or lack of fulfillment. It's like an itch that's not being scratched. It's like kind of like
discomfort.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a really good point, because in the periods of my life where, I didn't really care of myself, didn't really think I was very worthy, anything like that, I would shut down more self-expression. I wouldn't be doing those activities, and I would fill it with things that I wouldn't have to express myself. Just, turning on the TV, watching sports, watching movies, watching shows, whatever it was. And that doesn't require me to do anything. All I have to do is just be there and be a vegetable and just take it in. There's no expression needed. So I think it's actually a great point that you brought up, that when we start to value ourselves more, then we can start to do more things that bring us self-expression, and it works on the same level on both sides. When we start doing more things that help express ourselves, we actually show that we are valuable, and what we have to express is valuable.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic point. It's almost a difference between just being a consumer of what life brings you versus allowing yourself to create.
Yeah. Create what you have to bring to this world. Because all of us have something to share, right? Like everything that we see around us except, this plant was grown by a plant, but everything that we see around us was created from someone's imagination, right? Like you have to express yourself in order to bring these things to life.
Yeah, and along that note, when I do find if I'm getting bored with life or bored with myself, I've often let my self-expression practices slip because I've prioritized other things more than I need to in my schedule. And so that's when it's a call to come in and center myself again, make sure I'm giving myself enough time for me. And when I'm doing that personally, everything else in my life blossoms too. My relationships strengthen. I'm able to just express myself more effectively and really step into my life again. So it's a big sign of if I'm not feeling satisfied, then am I not giving myself enough time for me? And that can even mean, for example, sitting down and journaling about how I'm feeling. No one else is going to see that, but just that act alone of expressing myself helps me figure out, am I living in a way that's connected to me?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good point, is that with self-expression, it gives us the opportunity to feel more, to, break down the barriers of what's within us and allow us to actually see what's actually happening in here, versus a lot of times we kind of might just push it away. And as I said, just flip on the TV as an opportunity to not pay attention to what's going on inside of us. Yeah. And as you said, the times I did that was the biggest times where I wasn't happy. I wasn't appreciating life. Nothing felt right.
Absolutely. It was like shutting myself up into a little box and saying, okay, you're only allowed to show yourself to the world if you present yourself this little way, so that I didn't have to deal with the fact that, I had a lot of, say, emotional hurt or something going on inside that I didn't want to look at. And so it can become scary to think about expressing yourself at times when you're like, but there's so much here that I don't know what to do with. And it feels like you're going to just have almost a flood of things come up to the surface. But that's why, as you get into expressing yourself, that you can use a bunch of different tools that help you sort out the feeling of who you are, and that let you deal with whatever you've got going on in a way that's healthy, in a way that's productive, in a way that helps you, once again, authentically be the person who you actually want to be, so we don't have to live a lie or a show. We're not characters on a TV show where some script's being written for us, so why should we have to show up a certain way every day that's just who we wanted to, or who we pretended to show up?
Yeah, or how other people expect us to show up, right? We're not living life, or we shouldn't be living life on the whims of how other people want us to be. We should be how we truly are, and that's how we're going to get the most satisfaction out of life, the most enjoyment, most fulfillment, is by living who we are and true to ourselves, to our heart center.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think self-expression unlocks that.
I totally agree, and I think you made a great point there, that there are a variety of tools you can use to express yourself, and you need to use the tools that are true to you. Like for me right now, it's meditation's a big one for me as well. And journaling is big for me. Piano has been big for me, but for you, piano's not a thing.
That's definitely not a thing. We probably don't want piano to be a thing for me right now.
but it just shows the individualistic nature of it, right? Yeah. It just shows that how we can each use a variety of tools to express ourselves, and how we shouldn't get locked into a box over what we think other people are, how they're expressing themselves, right? Like we see people on social media be like, oh, they're expressing themselves these ways. This is the way I need to do it.
Absolutely.
No.
But I think we can use influence from other people to see the fact that there are such a wide range of
different ways. And then as we talked about, bringing it back, where try some different stuff.
Because if we went back to me once again 7 years ago, who all of a sudden was like, uh-oh, got a big problem with life here.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to do. And I didn't ask for help. And I didn't really seek out what someone wanted. And so the length of time that it took me before I started to feel like I was finding myself probably could have been drastically changed if I had been like, hey, how are other people doing this who know how to do it successfully? So I think that we don't need to be afraid of what other people are doing, but we do need to find, like you said, what works best for us, recognizing that it's not the same as what works best for someone else.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like we need to, connect with ourselves and then figure out whether it is in a line with, is it bringing up. Well, no, actually, I wouldn't even say that. I was going to say whether it's bringing up positive emotions, but sometimes in self-expression, you need to let the negative out. You need to let the sadness out. You need to let these things out. And that's